by Kyle Smith in the New York Post. It's only May, but I think I found the euphemism of the year, he writes. According to Team Obama, criminals should now be declared justice-involved individuals. Justice-involved individuals. So, in another, he writes, in another of those smiley-faced but deeply sinister Dear Colleague letters sent to universities and colleges this week, Obama's Education Secretary John King discouraged colleges from asking applicants whether they're convicted criminals. An accompanying pamphlet was called Beyond the Box, Increasing Access to Higher Education for Justice-Involved Individuals. So rapists, burglars, armed robbers, drug dealers aren't criminals anymore. These folks are simply involved with justice, according to the Obamanoids. I like that word. I used to say Clintonoids. Obamanoids obviously rhymes with hemorrhoids. Maybe they're right. Criminals is an inherently disparaging term that leads to stigmatization and decreased access to Eugene O'Neill seminars. But don't we need to retroactively reconfigure how we think of these unfortunate souls who found themselves pursued by harsh enforcers of restrictive behavioral norms? When you think about it, Jack the Ripper was merely a cutlery involved individual. I don't mean to laugh, but come on. Well, Jeffrey Dahmer was simply an unconventional dietary options involved individual. Colleges generally ask whether applicants have criminal records, and for an excellent reason. Parents probably don't want their eager young fresh person daughter Molly living across the hall from a rapist. I mean, sexual justice involved individual. The Secretary of Education, King, notes that when you ask college applicants about whether they brutalized, mugged, or otherwise committed outrages against their fellow human beings, the ugly specter of disparate impact arises. The black crime rate is higher than the white crime rate, so the are you a criminal question is bound to do injury to blacks, or so goes the reasoning. Obama's fighting the war for criminals to get closer to you on several fronts. Last month, through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, he went after landlords. I was talking about this as well, threatening them with penalties if they barred criminals from living in their buildings. In November, Obama unilaterally ordered federal agencies to strike the block, asking applicants whether they'd committed crimes and referred to criminals as folks. This would be the same president who, on October 25, 2010, referred to Republicans as enemies and suggested that voters should punish them. Convicted rapists, well, they're just folks. It's fair to argue the criminal justice system and society as a whole have a strong interest in rehabilitating criminals in addition to punishing them. And Team Obama argues criminals deserve to get their foot in the door before the step where they are asked about their criminal history. But this is just a step in a long-term strategy pursued by progressives who love criminals the way little girls love Disney princesses. The goal is to sneak criminals into your apartment building or workplace or campus. Just glance at the website of one Ban the Box advocacy group, the South Dakota Peace and Justice Center. Its stated goal is to put off questions about criminal behavior until later in the game. In other words, enforcers will tell you whether an applicant's criminal background is relevant to a particular gig and order you not to ask about it if they deem it irrelevant. Yet there's no job on the planet in which your criminal background is automatically irrelevant. Employers can weigh how much importance to assign to which crimes and judge for themselves whether a criminal has reformed. Bringing up disparate impact is a way to change the subject between you, who you are, and what you did. This is important. Between who you are and what you did. One is about characteristics you were born with. The other is about bad choices you made. One is a terrible reason to discriminate against you. The other is not. King says there's no evidence that questions about criminal backgrounds have any impact on campus safety. How hard did he look for such evidence? Because I'm pretty sure that one reliable predictor of crime is the presence of criminals. Colleges find themselves at a point in time where debates about, say, whether rape is spiking on campus, if it isn't, he writes, are treated as so imperiling that they require the establishment of alternative safe space. And he goes on. The insanity that is the left, the insanity that is the federal government, this is what happens with government out of control. They're in the classrooms, they are in the bedrooms, which they said we shouldn't be in. They're in our bathrooms, they're in our automobiles, they're in our face. And they're going to keep it up until we do something about it. And I'm not talking about a presidential election, although that helps. I'm talking about taking our government back through the constitutional means, and you know what I mean. Article 5, Convention of States.